Who had the most impressive performance of the Rooks?
Believe it or not, for me, it was Zach Wilson for the New York Jets.
Oh, come on.
I'm going to tell you why. Because, listen, big plays are big plays, and those things can happen, and quarterbacks deserve props for it. I'm not trying to proclaim that anybody had a bad weekend. Please don't get me wrong. But when I looked at Zach Wilson, it was 6 of 9 passes for just 63 yards, but he was efficient on third down. He was in control. And I think for me, Max, is really, really simple in this regard. I'm thinking about what you're going to be asked to do for the most part during a game and whether or not that's something you look smooth and comfortable and efficient doing more so than anything else. I'm not trying to say that it was a lights out performance or, you saw a spectacular play from him here or there. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that what I saw from him is what I would expect from a starting quarterback on a Sunday afternoon. It wasn't anything heroic or anything like that. It was just somebody who looked smooth and comfortable and in complete control. And when I think about the 7 first downs or so that he helped accumulate, along with, 2 field goals, his efficiency on third down, the intermediate throws that he was throwing out there, those are the kind of things I take away when I'm looking at you and I'm saying, okay, if by some happenstance you ended up starting week 1, can you do those things and can you do those things efficiently? And that's all I mean by that. I saw the spectacular and I'll leave that to you. But for me personally, what I expect from a starting quarterback, what I would be looking for, what I think they're going to be asked to do, and how I parlay that with what I actually saw, I found him to be most impressive.
Oh, you're getting influenced by Greeny? I mean, Greeny's a Jets fan.
I didn't watch Greeny. I didn't watch Greeny this morning. I usually do, but I missed him this morning.
Greeny about, 15 minutes ago said he wasn't going to hear on Get Up of anyone other than Zach, the answer being Zach Wilson. Because he's a Jets fan. Stephen A. asked me, I say it was Daniel Jones, and he didn't play because I'm a Giants fan. Daniel Jones in the middle. That's what. And Zach Wilson, based on what we were hearing out of camp and how he showed up, that's the greatest difference. He looked really good, and we were hearing he looked bad, and he's looked really good. But if the question is just, which it is, who had the most impressive rookie quarterback debut, it's Justin Fields, and this ain't that hard. They all look good to me, by the way. Every single one of them, I was like, wow, these all look like real quarterbacks. But Justin Fields, Stephen A., early on, backed up into his own territory. They don't really call much. They're super conservative. He doesn't do anything. That's fine. Then they take the handcuffs off. Oh, my God. And I thought, after watching Zach Wilson tape, I thought, you know what? Yeah, you can draft him ahead of Justin Fields. But I was very high on Justin Fields, so I get Zach Wilson's talent. But Justin Fields was just making it happen with his arm, with his legs, with his brain. Remember that? Like, what about decision-making? Was he taking sacks? Was he taking big hits? He was using his legs to get out of the way, to pick up yards. He's keeping his eyes downfield, completing great throws one after another. This is the modern quarterback. The guy who, it's not just enough to manage the game and have a good enough arm to make all the throws. Can you also make it happen? This is a guy who's going to be able to execute the game plan plus in a weekend where I was really blown away by the talent of all these young quarterbacks. Even the second-year quarterbacks, I thought, boy, there's a lot to like there. There's a lot to like there. But Justin Fields was the star of the weekend. He was the guy who stood out as, I think he's going to be ready to take the ball week 1 and have immediate success.
First of all, I'm not sure about that. I believe in Justin Fields, and I know he's the future of the Chicago Bears, and props to them for ultimately grabbing him. And Dalton's not long for that job, fair enough. And it's good to see how Dalton was supportive of him over the weekend. That was a good thing to see. That's class on his part from a veteran quarterback. Having said all of that, I will remind you that when we looked at Zach Wilson, he converted all 3 of his third down conversions, a 9-yard, a 16-yard pass to Corey Davis and Keelan Cole. I mean, I looked at that. I looked at a 3rd and 14 that he converted as well. Again, these are the kind of things that you're looking at. When Justin Fields threw that 1 touchdown pass, that brother was so wide open that he threw it to. I mean, my Lord, he could have sat up there and ordered lunch, sat back and ate. You know what I'm saying? Went to the bathroom, came back out before catching the damn pass. That's how open he was, okay? So I look at it from that perspective. Again, I'm paying attention to who your competition is, the level of duress that you're under at a particular moment in time. I'm thinking about the fact that you sit up there and you're doing the kind of things that they're going to ask of you to do come regular season time. That's what I saw from Zach Wilson. I thought that Justin Fields, even though he definitely was bright, even though he started off slow, came on strong as the game waned and what have you. I just look at Zach Wilson and I say, hey, when I think about a week one starting quarterback, that's what I expect to see, and that's what I saw from Zach Wilson, and that's all I'm saying. He certainly didn't have the throw that Trey Lance had. He didn't have the footwork that Justin Fields displayed. But dropping back to pass in that pocket, you sat up there and said to yourself, this was was contradicting what we were seeing in the headlines leading up to that first preseason game, what they were saying about Zach Wilson. And I was impressed.
That he did. And also you could just say the eyeball test. When he threw the ball, was there something extra on it? Was there a little extra mustard? Did he have that
in the middle of the field,
talent?
in between the numbers?
No doubt.
So
Zach Wilson's the real deal to me. He showed arm talent. I agree with all that. But let's put it this way. If we knew nothing about these guys coming in, and we had watched this weekend and said, who do you think the number one overall pick was? I'd say Justin Fields.
Well, let me say this to you. Let me counter that,
and he's going to start.
Let me counter that to get back to a point. If you recall, we didn't know much about Wilson at all.
No, that's right.
You came on the show and you acknowledged you had to go back and look him up because you're like, who is this guy that they're talking about? I haven't seen him. We're not watching BYU games or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's not what we're doing. We didn't see him, okay? So essentially, but we saw Justin Fields in the Big Ten. We saw Justin Fields leading Ohio State. We saw enough heroics from him over the season and over the last 2 years or so where we said, yo, this brother's the real deal. And still, that Zach Wilson has leapfrogged him. So one guy we didn't know much about. All of a sudden, you watch Saturday night, and you say, wait a minute here.
Yeah, he's an NFL quarterback.
He's an NFL quarterback.
Yep.
He looks like one.
But Justin Fields, to me.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.